After we light the Hanukkah menorah, there's a small little prayer that we recite, and in it we say that we're lighting these candles to offer thanks for all the miracles that occurred to us throughout history and in our own personal lives. And permission, we say, is not granted for us to use these candles for any other purpose, just to look at them. Ella lerosa milvad, only to look at the candles. And because of this, and unlike, for example, the Shabbos candles, or the holiday candles, the Yom Tov candles that we light before the Shabbat, which the intention of those candles is to gain pleasure so we can see and we can enjoy the meal, the Hanukkah candles are lit simply for their own purpose. And the only thing that we can derive anything of it, the only pleasure that we can derive from it, is to look at it. Ela lirosa milvad. And because of that, the tradition has evolved with its roots from hundreds of years ago, from many different sages that talk about looking at the menorah, looking at the candles, once we light the menorah, to spend some time and just look at the candles. And there are various different customs that evolved around what should be done around when we look at these candles. So one of the intentions of the book that I wrote, which is called 8 Lights, 8 Meditations for Hanukkah, is dealing with 8 specific meditations related to the 8 nights of Hanukkah. And when we look at the candles, what are we supposed to be thinking? What is it telling us? There is a Hasidic saying by the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe that said that we have to listen to the story that the candles are telling us. So the question is, what is the story? And there are simple meditations, what the candles represent, and what is the metaphor of candles, and what they ignite within us, and what type of consciousness do they bring up when we look at candles, to the more evolved techniques of meditation based on some of the teachings of the Zohar, which deals with the different colors of the candle, to some of the teachings of the Ari of Isaac Luria in the 1500s, which deals with the different various names, sacred names relating to the different colors of the candles, and different yichudim, unifications that could be done while we're looking at the candles. And always the question is, when we look at these candles, what is their story? What is it telling us? And what is it making us take notice? It could be as simple as taking notice of the immediate moment, that's to be present, because normally our minds are jumping all over the place and moving from one thought to the next thought, and there's a total chaos. And the idea of the candle, the gentle flame of the candle, is to make us present and become aware. And the deeper meditations, the candle is an imagery, a visual that we can meditate on, and to look inside a candle, to look into an image, a positive image, to replace a lot of negative imagery that we observe, a lot of things in life that we believe are conscious choices that we're making because of the logical left part of the brain is making these choices. In truth, a lot of life is lived from a subconscious place because of different images that we have about ourselves and about the world and about our position in the world. And we act on those images. And sometimes we tell ourselves a certain thing. Logically, we tell ourselves we should do one thing, and yet we act contrary to that because there are deeply lodged imagery that exists within our subconscious mind. And part of the healing process and part of the transformation process of the human being is to exchange negative imagery with positive imagery. And this is some of the ideas that are unpacked in this book about Hanukkah. And in general, it gives you an overview of what Hanukkah is. You know, we all know the story of Hanukkah, and the story of Hanukkah is that there was the group of the Maccabees, which was a small group of Jews that lived during the Second Temple period, 207 years precisely before the Second Temple was destroyed. 207 is also the numeric value of the word or, light. And they lived, a small group of Jews that were oppressed by the Assyrian Greeks. And they had a small military victory, and they were able to rededicate the temple. And that in itself desired a dedication. The Chanukah, some of the meaning of Chanukah is related to the word chinuch, with the rededication of the temple. And also the story, the famous story, which is when they found and they searched for one little small jug of oil, and that oil lasted, instead of one day, it lasted for 8 days. It's interesting that when we look in the Talmudic version of this story, of this narrative, it says L'shana acheres. The next year, the sages of the Talmud established this holiday. And the reason why they establish it the next year is because we have to think about time. You know, when we think about time, the ancient man believed time was cyclical. Time revolved around patterns, and what was will be. And there's no movement forward, there's no progress, there's no hope, there's no future. Everything that was will be. And time is basically cyclical. This is basically an observation looking at the seasonal development of the year. We see that the seasons come and go, and therefore we view time in the same manner. And the great cycles of life is the great cyclical nature of time. One of the great innovations of the Torah, one of the great chidushim that the Torah revealed to the world, was that time also moves linearly. That there's progress, that there's a past, there's a future, that there's a creation, there's a revelation, and there's a redemption. There's movement that's forward. That gives the possibility for hope and for future and for creating a better reality and not getting stuck. And this idea of time moving forward, which is a linear progression of time, that there's a beginning of time, which is Bereshis bara, and then there's the end of time, or moving towards the end of time, allows for progress. So we look at time, we look at it in a linear way. And yet, the truth of life is that time is also cyclical, because we have every year, we have the same spring and the same winter and the same fall. So there's a cyclical pattern of time as well. And the deeper Kabbalistic understanding is that time both moves cyclically and linearly. And the best way to describe that would be as a spiral. So it's moving around, but every year it's moving up. So when the sages of the Talmud observed the miracle that occurred with one small jug of oil, one small amount of oil lasting for 8 days, they wondered, was this a one-time event outside of the historical narrative? Or was this part of the meta-history of creation? Is there something innate about this particular time that allows for the possibility of the miraculous? The next year, when it came around, the same period of time, they realized that it was not just an event that happened in the past. It's something that can reoccur every year in the present. Every year it gives us the same potential to recreate miracles in our lives. And that's the celebration of Chanukah. Of course, it's a celebration of the past, but more importantly, it's a celebration of the present, that we have the potential to A, search for the oil, which is in itself a tremendous miracle. The fact that the Maccabees, who were completely defeated and a small group of people, and went into the temple, and the temple was in complete shambles, and after a few years of the temple being in a destructive state, even searched for oil, that in itself is a miracle. So the fact that we search and we don't give up hope, and even when things look bleak and things look dark, we still believe in the possibility of creating light and finding that small little amount of potential to generate light. That is one thing that we're giving us potential at this time, and that is part of the miraculous. And when we believe in something, and we have trust, and we have hope, and trust in ourselves, and trust in the Creator that can create this miracle of ourselves, and we believe in ourselves that we have the potential to create this miracle, then we could also recreate miracles in our lives. And Chanukah is that time of the year that we're given that possibility to create those miracles. And this is some of the things, another important thing that we talk about in the book, is that we're not only celebrating the past, but we're celebrating the present. So to understand a little bit what Chanukah is about, how Chanukah can actually transform our lives in the present moment, how we can create miracles for ourselves, and how we can use the candles every night, day one candle, day two, the second candle, how we can use these candles to increase in light, to increase in blessings in our life, and to increase in the possibility of creating miraculous for ourselves.